Hello, authentically me beauties. Thank you so much for being here today and for listening to my show. I'm so excited to honor you and bring the most authentic people onto the show that I know and share them with you. And I have Queen Madame Rosie Volcano, High Priestess of Love and transformational coach. Hello, Rosie. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Serena. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
Yes, I've been looking forward to announcing you because it's such a revolutionary title. So, what does that mean?
Well, when you asked how should I address you on the podcast? What title should I use? I just started thinking, well, how do I want to see myself?
Mhm.
And how do I see myself already? And if the universe was my oyster, which it is, what title would I pick? And in 2013, Kit taught me how to be a DJ, and my DJ name was Queen Madam Pussyfoot.
Ooh.
Because we had our first business together was called Lesbian Tag Team Tarot. We would go do interactive, full contact tarot card readings on people that included acro yoga and dildo shiatsu massages. And our stage names for that act. It was more of a performance act than really like an actual tarot card reading.
Mhm.
Was Queen Madam Pussyfoot, and Kit was the Butch of Wands because back in those days he was a butch lesbian. Um, and so when you said what's my title, I thought I'm gonna go with Queen Madam.
That's awesome. I'm just digesting all of that. I'm like, how many businesses and things have you done?
A lot.
I love that. I love that so much because I have a lot of projects and things. And as an artist and entrepreneur, I know a lot of people can relate to putting their hands in a lot of different pots. And I think that this day and age, it's recommended that you don't put all of your eggs into one basket, but that, you explore and have revenue coming in from many streams. And so, what is your insight and experience surrounding that idea?
Yeah, I think with the internet being what it is today and having so much access to free information at all times, it's become really easy for anyone to switch careers at any time. And I think that it's just a new level of freedom that we all have that I think previously, especially for creative people, we didn't have that freedom before. And so I think there are still going to be people who prefer to have one job for most of their lives, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But for creative people, for travelers, for people who are just always expanding and evolving themselves, now we actually have a way to survive and thrive and do really well because of the internet. Um, and I'm really, really thankful for that. Because if it weren't for that, then I don't know what I would be doing right now. So I try to teach as many people as possible how to funnel your creativity through online entrepreneurship in order to create a lifestyle for yourself where your creativity creates abundance for you
Mhm.
instead of this like starving artist. If I don't have a traditional job, then I'm never going to be able to travel, have a kid, buy a house, or any of those things. So I think it's possible. It's possible for all of us now when it wasn't even 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah, I think so too. So what would your advice be for someone who hears that and is like, oh, I'm a starving artist, or oh, I don't want to live like this anymore? What advice would you give someone who can relate to what we're talking about?
So much. There's so much, but really, I think that the thing that first changed my life from being a starving artist to actually creating income through my creativity, like the pivotal thing was really just the mindset shift and committing myself 100% to my mindset and the quality of my thoughts. And in doing that, it meant letting go of human beings that I was surrounding myself with whose thoughts were not creating that in my life, whose thoughts were confirming the old way of believing, whose thoughts were, I'll always be poor, I'll always be a starving artist, this sucks, everything sucks, I hate my life. I had to stop spending time with those people, and I had to start consciously surrounding myself with people who thought more positively, whether they were rich or not. That's what made the shift for me. So it was a really um, like hyper vigilant commitment to my own, to the quality of my own thoughts, and only choosing people around me who reflected those thoughts or enhanced them.
Hmm.
I think that's something that's really difficult for most people to hear because they love their friends and they want to lift their friends up with them. But oftentimes, your friends aren't ready to make that shift yet in their mindset or in their thoughts. They have to do it in their own time. So you can still love those friends, you can still guide them in some ways. And in fact, on my journey, it's been only about 4 years since I've really made the mindset shift. And in those 4 years, there were many friends who I had to temporarily step away from, but who saw what I was doing and thought, "Oh, she's figured something out. Let me ask her about it." And now they're on the same page. And so it's kind of like I just had to take a little break, and now they're kind of working on their mindset too. So that's my biggest piece of advice: is just start with the mindset and just be really diligent about catching the negative thoughts, be really diligent about catching the old belief patterns and stopping them in their tracks and choosing something different.
Hmm. Thank you. It's interesting because over the past, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks, I have been consciously coming to terms with this deeper level of acceptance surrounding my family and my friends and projected judgments and um, choosing myself and choosing my life and my thoughts and my belief systems and not allowing that to happen anymore. And when I hear you speak about all of that, it's just affirmation for me with where I am. And then it also brings up the question, well, what if it's your family? And what advice would you give to navigate
Yeah.
that?
Uh, Same. It's the same thing. Um, so I have a complicated relationship with my family because they're Catholic and I'm queer. So there was already moments in time where we had to take our distance from one another. And so taking more distance really actually wasn't that strange for me to do. But I did. I took some more distance from my mom in particular for about a year or two, where I just didn't talk to her as much because she's had a lifetime pattern of being stuck on a negative thought cycle, which I know is it's something that's so subconscious for her that she doesn't even realize it. And so in that way I could still love her and just send her lots and lots of love and support. Be like, I love you so much. And also just like, I just need to take a little break. um, and over the years, I've slowly introduced her to this stuff, to Abraham Hicks, to Joe Dispenza, to meditation, to choosing your thoughts, to surrounding yourself with positive energy. And now she's obsessed with crystals. She meditates. She's healing her fibromyalgia naturally. And she has seen the changes, the impact that all of this has had in my life. And she has allowed a little bit of that influence to come into her life as well. And so now we can have a totally different relationship because of it. And I really just had to have patience with her. And I also had to be okay with her being a little bit sad about the distance for a little while. I just had to be okay with that because it was my commitment to this journey was more important than maintaining an unhealthy relationship with someone.
Mhm.
But again, like I said, is because I've stayed committed to it for so long and I've created so much beauty in my life because of it, that includes full unconditional love and acceptance of everyone in my life, including my family members who don't support gay people or trans people or anything like that. I still have unconditional love for them. And because of that, now we can have a loving, beautiful relationship again. And now they can see, like, oh, I can see how this positivity thing actually works. Because look, I've been suffering from fibromyalgia for 40 plus years and now I can walk again.
Mhm. Wow.
Right. So it just takes patience, 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 patience,
Mhm.
and lots of love. But also like staying committed to yourself first and foremost.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I know we just kind of jumped into this conversation and I just went with it. But for those who, are maybe listening, don't really know who you are, it's like, well, why should I listen to her? Like, what has she accomplished, And I see you and know you personally and see how what you do works and see the stories from other people. And so I was wondering if you could share a little bit with my listeners, just a little like, humble brag about just what you've accomplished because it's so beautiful to me.
Sure. Yeah, I would love to. Um, so I'll just give like kind of the short story from all the way back then to now. Uh, I became a massage therapist when I was about 21, 22, and was always a healer. So I always knew I was meant to heal people and that I had a deep connection to helping people see the gifts inside of themselves. But I never considered being a life coach for a very long time. I would just life coach people on their massage tables as I was
Mm-hmm,
giving them massages, and they
mm-hmm.
would make these huge life changes. Like quitting their jobs or getting married or traveling the world. They'd be like, "Thank you, Rosie." I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So I did that for like 10 years. And in the meantime, I met Kit, who I'd known. I didn't actually meet him. We had known each other for a long time, but we actually started dating, fell in love, and got married in 2013. And we became yoga teachers together. We moved from Chicago to North Carolina to open a yoga studio because this style of yoga had really helped us heal from a lot of trauma and it really changed our lives. And so I thought, okay, well, this is my new healing mission, is to spread the style of yoga to as many people as possible because it transformed the way I saw myself. I suffered from eating disorders for many, many years and lots of trauma stuff, childhood trauma, adult trauma, all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm,
And that style of yoga just opened up the doors to like this self-love, self-healing journey. And so I was like, yes, this is what I need to be doing. So we opened this yoga studio. We started transforming lives, but we were in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a very small, beautiful Appalachian hippie town where minimum wage is $7.90 an hour or something like that. I mean, it's just poverty, lots and lots of poverty there. So lots of poverty consciousness. And opening a yoga studio in a hippie town of 80,000 people where there are 20 other yoga studios, not the best business move.
mm-hmm,
So we ended up losing the yoga studio and we had put everything we had into it. We put our savings into it. We didn't make any money. We just kept losing money. And so we were in a lot of debt when we had to close. And we ended up selling everything we owned. And it was right around that time, we gave a lot of it away, to be honest, but it was right around that time that we discovered law of attraction, specifically through Abraham Hicks. And started just listening to their teachings. The way we found them was a very strange story, but I'll talk about that another time. Um, we started applying their teachings. Number one, that first piece of advice they gave you, the mindset thing, it's like the 17-second rule. Don't let a negative thought cycle get stuck inside of your head for more than 17 seconds. Catch it, reroute it, and think something different. That was the first thing we started applying. And we just started doing it and doing it and doing it. And all of a sudden, the toxic people in our lives fell away. The positive people started showing up more. And within 2 weeks, we got an offer to host a training. This is like before the studio was actually closed. An offer to host a training at our studio that we made $9,000 from. And then a week later, we got an offer to move to Scotland and teach yoga in Scotland, which was like a huge dream of mine to go to Scotland. And it was like, oh, this stuff works. This stuff works. Okay, so we already knew we were losing the yoga studio. We were going to have to close anyway. So we close it. We moved to Scotland. It was an amazing journey. We come back. We moved to California with nothing, nothing except
mm-hmm,
dogs.
mm-hmm,
And we decided to sign up for a really expensive coaching program because we knew that we needed to learn more about business. We needed to learn more about Like, what is this coaching stuff? And is this something that could help us? So we took this little nest egg we had of savings that was meant for a house, and we put it down on the coaching program. It was like half the cost of the program. We paid the other half as we went along. It was like $20,000 in 1 year, which is completely insane. We had never spent that much money on anything before.
Mm-hmm.
And it changed our lives. It was like this thing that we had always been doing, coaching people on the massage table. And then my partner Kit had been a hairstylist, and he would coach people on the hair chair.
Mm-hmm. I'm familiar with that life.
Uh-huh. They would come get a haircut and leave with a new business card, like for their own business that they were now starting because of their conversation with Kit, right?
For
Like it
sure.
was like
Yeah.
that. And so the two of us together, this is like both of our secret superpower. So we realized, wow, we're already really great coaches. We should just start a coaching business for healers and yoga teachers and spiritual entrepreneurs and
Mm-hmm.
help them learn all of these things that we just learned. And so sure enough, we went from being in debt, owning nothing, sleeping on a friend's couch in January of 2017 to January 2018, we had our first six-figure month. So it took us a year of constant study and learning and implementing and trial and error. And then by January 2018, just within 1 year, we had figured out how to really successfully launch an online coaching business and what our niche market was and all of that stuff. And since then, we've built $1 million business. And we have created so much beauty in our lives. So we just bought a house in Southern California and San Diego. So that was a really huge win for us. We just did that last year. And we decided to bring a child into this world with another pair of co-parents. These are two guys we have known for years and years and years. And we always talked about being co-parents together. And somehow magically we all ended up in California because we all met in Chicago. So we decided to do that too. So we had a baby last year as well. We've published a best-selling book about self-love. And yeah, I mean, we do beautiful transformational events all over the world until the time of COVID. I really miss doing those right now.
Yeah.
We've done online summits. We do online challenges with 500 people in them. We recently had an online event with 3,000 people in it. So that's kind of what we're up to lately. And the main thing that we really do is we have a coach training program that we've been running now since November of 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And that is our main bread and butter. We usually have between 50 and 100 students at any given time that are on a 7-month journey to learn how to become a transformational coach through us. And so that's really like the main thing that we do.
That's awesome. Wow. I didn't know that about the book too. It's like I'm learning all of these new things about you in this conversation. That's really cool. I love
Yeah, we published it like a month after I gave birth. It was 2 weeks after I gave birth. It was insane.
that. Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, it was fun.
Thank you for sharing all of that with us. I think it's really important to touch on, the pieces that you touched on, like, and not just jump to, oh, I have a book and this is all that I've done. It's important to know and to be able to relate to others that no matter where you are, you could be sleeping on a couch at your friend's house and you can navigate that and move through that and change your fucking life, So I really appreciate how you answered that question. And I just wanted to take a second to say thank you for that. So one of my greatest challenges in this life, which, I know that you know a little bit about me and my backstory, and I know a little bit about you and your backstory, even though I'm still learning, which, by the way, for my listeners, a lot of my listeners are from the DMV area, and I just wanted to plug that you're from Maryland as well, which is super dope. So people can feel more connected to you and relate to you. So even those people in Maryland, you can buy a house in San Diego one day if you want to.
Good. I'm from the west side of Baltimore, so
Yeah.
even west side of Baltimore people can buy a house in San Diego.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my biggest challenges has been navigating judgment. And it's interesting sitting here with you, even on this call, I'm like, low key judging myself because you look so pretty, and I'm like, oh, I didn't like do my makeup, and like you're just so beautiful, and you and
You're
Kit
so
dress up, and I'm on this journey with myself right now, and there's a huge layer of myself that's being shed, and I'm really grateful for it because I'm ready to just move forward and move on to the next thing, um, without bypassing anything, of course. But the navigating judgment has been my biggest challenge, and a lot of that was attached to my family. And in the past, I would dress up and put on makeup and not leave the house without it, actually. And I would do that from not the most pure place. It was my way of
Yeah.
just facing the judgment and being like, you want to judge me? Here you go. Like, I'm awesome. Like, come talk to me and see me and whatever, and have your thoughts, and you'll still love me. And so I faced it like head on, not from the most pure place. And now I'm evolutionizing and changing and growing, and I still enjoy very much dressing up and putting on makeup and wearing ridiculous things. And I also very much enjoy not wearing makeup and having my hair thrown up and whatever part of me wants to be expressed. And that comes from my own journey of accepting and loving myself in a pure way. And I know that you have had a similar journey facing judgments.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what advice would you give listeners who I know connect with me and my story and my challenges? And since we have a similar journey, what advice would you give someone who can relate to that, those judgments, and however that manifests itself for each person? Because we judge each other as humans. It's just so common. So,
Mm. Yeah, there's so many layers to that. There's so many layers. I think that the one thing that you and I can both relate to is kind of growing up and being like the pretty one, right? And kind of having certain expectations put on you because of that. Or being like sexualized by people just by walking down the street, right? That's
mm-hmm,
something that for me, and I know for you, you've had the same thing. I read your posts and all of that kind of stuff. So for me, for a long time, that was a big problem. And when I realized neither one of those words are correct, became or realized, but it was more like um, when I fully dove into the world of being a hardcore lesbian, I was like, I just identified it. I started identifying as a diesel dyke because I wanted to be such a hardcore feminist that people would stop catcalling me when I walked down the street. That was like my goal for most of my 20s. And so I started wearing baseball caps and jeans with like the keys clipped on to the belt loop and just really like kind of butching it up, letting all my armpit hair grow out, all my leg hair, and just hanging out with all of my feminist, amazing, radical dyke friends.
mm-hmm,
And but really, what I was doing at that time was I was abandoning who I really was on the inside, which is like a sparkly fairy goddess whatever I am now. That's who I always was growing up. When I was little, I loved wearing dresses. I loved wearing tutus. I loved wearing glitter. I loved like wearing
mm-hmm,
fairy wings. Just like that was like how I wanted to be all the time. But because I got so much attention, negative attention from men, from boys, whatever, I didn't like that. I never liked that. And so I hid it for a really long time. And also, I would get negative judgments from female friends as well if I dressed up or made myself look pretty. And I didn't like that either. I wanted to be accepted by everyone. And so that was kind of my environment that I was in at the time, where I wasn't necessarily expected to look pretty. I was expected to look like a dyke. So I did. And the way that I have worked with that since then has actually been through medicine ceremonies. So interacting with plant medicine, in my experience, has shown me who I really am at my deepest core of my spirit. And one of the biggest lessons that I've taken away from all those experiences has been that in order to lead a really truly spiritual life, in order for your inner spirituality to be integrated into your external world, you need to present yourself the way in which you see yourself. internally.
Mhm.
So when I dress up, when I wear glitter, when I wear feathers, when I wear tattoo eyeliner, pens, or whatever it is, that's me fully expressing my spirit on the outside. And when I hold myself back from doing that for fear of what other people are going to think of me, no matter what the judgment is, whether it's like she's weird or I'm intimidated by this person or whatever the judgment is, when I hold myself back, I feel like I'm dimming my light. And I shut down the connection to my spirit. I shut down the connection to my creativity and to just like that inner light that wants to come out. And it can come out in all different ways. I don't always dress up like this or
Mhm.
put makeup on either. Like you said, sometimes I still like looking like a diesel dyke. Sometimes I put on coveralls and go get
Mhm.
crazy. Like I love that too, right?
Mhm.
And so, the other layer of it is catching yourself in judgment as well. So it's not just fear of judgment from others, but it's catching yourself in judgment as well. So every time you catch yourself, either comparing yourself to someone else, like you were just saying that you did, or judging someone for their choices, for how they're presenting themselves, for how
Mhm.
they appear in the world, just start getting really, again, like really, really conscious of those thoughts. This is just the whole journey, is just elevating consciousness and becoming conscious of every single thought that comes through. Every time you catch yourself in judgment or fear of judgment, ask yourself, what part of me needs to be loved right now?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
really the biggest thing that you can do. And usually it's your 5-year-old self, your 14-year-old self, whatever age you were when you really started feeling judged by others. Ask that person inside of you what they need in that moment.
That's really powerful. That's really, really powerful. I'm just digesting that because I think so many people project, and what I hear is a deep way to take responsibility for yourself and your emotions. And it's deeper than just how you present yourself and how you accept yourself and love yourself. And so that's really powerful. It's really, really powerful. I'm brought to, I can't get it out of my head, so I'm just going to share it, but I'm brought to this scenario when I was in the grocery store and I wore a little bit of a low cut shirt, and a grocery store employee walked by me and gave me the up and down and was like, holy fuck, and was like super judgmental. And they walked by and I was just like, I was shocked. And so I didn't know what to say in that moment. And my initial response was like, being from Baltimore, was to like say some shit back to her,
What? Yeah.
right. And I knew that wasn't right. I knew that wasn't the guru way to go. So um, I took some deep breaths and, just prayed for her and sent her love. And then I was just like, well, that was totally her shit. I'm good. But really, another way to navigate something like that would be to ask myself what part of me needs to be loved, because I allowed that scenario to emotionally impact me. Not like I cried myself to sleep that night or anything, but if I'm being honest, like it did, impact me emotionally. So, um, what a beautiful way to reclaim power. And yeah, I just really am receiving that. So thank you for sharing that.
One more thing I want to add to that as well, I think, is not just asking yourself what part of you needs love, but also seeing the same thing inside of the other person as well. Because, of course, their reaction is coming from a part of them that needs love too,
Hmm.
right? A part of them that's measuring themselves up against you.
Yeah, definitely. Whew. Um, so another similarity, and I think underneath it all, we all have this similarity, is being ultra spiritual as fuck. We're all spiritual beings out here. And so, when did you know as a child that you were different?
Um, there's like so many things, but I knew pretty early on that I was different. I think that there's a book called Born Aware. It's about people who come into the world with memories of their past lives or with um, a deeper level of comprehension than most babies have.
Hmm.
I've been studying a lot about this lately because I have memories that are very clear that have thoughts attached to them from when I was 2 months old, um, that had actual thoughts attached to them that I've just remembered my whole life. And so I've been very like awake and conscious of that since I was born, essentially. And it's been a really weird thing to navigate because, of course, I'll talk about it sometimes and people will be like, no, there's no way. But, some of the memories I've actually verified with my parents. One being that my mom passed me to another woman to breastfeed. And that's really my first memory, right? And I remember thinking all of these things like, oh, my mom doesn't love me. She doesn't want me. Who's this woman? Yada, yada, right? And I asked my mom finally when I was like 26. I was like, I know this is really weird, but did this happen? Did you ever give me to someone else to breastfeed? And she was like, the only time I did that was on your dad and my 10th anniversary, which was when you were 2 months old. And so I've since then verified a bunch of other stuff and done some research into this. And I do believe that's why is for whatever reason the veil between the previous life and this one was left a little bit thinner, and so I have that connection to the other realm, and I knew that growing up because I always saw spirits, and when I went to church, I not just when I was in church, but especially when I was in church, my family went to church a lot. It was like I was having a conversation with God. Like the ceiling of the church would open up and a light would shine down, and my whole body would feel like it was full of electricity. And I would just have a conversation with God. And I knew it was God at the time. And sometimes it would be like the Virgin Mother, the Mother Goddess, whatever, however you want to see it now.
Hmm.
Back then, I just thought it was like the Virgin Mary, right?
Right, yeah.
And yeah, so she was my homegirl. And I actually started a club, the Virgin Mary Club, when I was 5 in my neighborhood and had all my friends join it with me because I was so obsessed with Mary and I was just talking to her all the time. Um, and so it's kind of like a whole lifelong thing. And at a certain point, um, I shut it all down, right? Like I think most spiritual people do because they realize that they're weird or they're different or that some people don't believe that it's true or whatever. And
Hmm.
so probably around 15 or 16 is when I shut it down, all the way up until I was about 27. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I love, I wrote that down actually, born aware. I think that's really interesting because I too have memories and thoughts and things, and my family has questioned me, and but I remember stuff and have received affirmation from like family members throughout the years, and so that's really cool. I can't wait to read that book. It's really
I have
beautiful.
a bunch of other ones too. I have a whole list for you if you want them.
Oh yeah, yeah, I would love that. I mean, I'm reading like 4 books right now, but
Yeah.
like I love being a nerd about life, so like you can never read too many books, honestly. Um, so I know that we have a little bit of limited time, so I'm going to choose my questions wisely here. I will say, what was the biggest challenge you have had to overcome to achieve success?
Uh, yeah. I mean, honestly, I think it's like the Baltimore in me. Like, and what I mean by that is the the inherited beliefs. So coming from a background of extreme poverty consciousness. I wouldn't say extreme poverty because there's definitely people who are poorer than me, but I grew up pretty poor. Um, and all the belief systems that came with that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a saver. I'll never save money. International travel is too expensive. I'll never travel internationally, even though that's the thing that I've always wanted to do. I was like looking at National Geographic magazines when I was 5 years old, just thinking, first thing I want to do when I'm a grown up is go to another country and just like see other countries. That's what I wanted to do. I always told myself that it wasn't possible because I would never have that kind of money. when actually it doesn't actually really even cost that much money to go to other countries. Like you could do it pretty cheaply. But anyway, that was just a belief system.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, everything that I inherited from my culture, from my family, from growing up in that part of the world, um, and yeah, that was the biggest thing to overcome. It was just who I thought I was for a really long time until I was about 25. Then I started kind of questioning some of it. I can't believe it took me that long, honestly, but
Mm-hmm.
it did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we all have our own journeys. I mean, I know people that are older than 25 that are just now starting
Oh,
to
for
question
sure.
things, you know.
Absolutely.
So, my next question would be, how do you sales?
How do sales?
You sales.
Yes.
You and Kit have blown my mind. Like when I did your online challenge, which there will be a link to in the show notes when this episode is released, the way that they went about selling us, I was like, oh, well, that's one way to do it. You know, I've just expanded my mind, and I still am sitting with it. I was actually thinking about it this morning as I drank my tea, and I was thinking about what questions to ask you because I notice myself when I am about to say something that seems egotistical to, you know, I don't know, like if I'm going to project another person to judge me, I try to speak to it before it happens. And
Mm.
so I was thinking about what correlation could be there based on like me doing that because I have no problem doing that, but there is a part of me that has a block still surrounding sales and selling people, although I'm working through it right now. But you know, before saying something, I'll say, not sound egotistical or, you know, whatever it is, and then I'll say the thing. And so you guys will
Wow.
say, I'm selling to you, so get uncomfortable if you want to be, but you don't have to be, you know. And that really blew my mind. And this morning I was just thinking about, you know, those correlations and what could exist there for me. So I
Mm.
was wondering if you could speak about sales.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's so much to it, isn't there? I was lucky coming into our relationship with me and Kit because I have always been a natural salesperson. I've had a few different types of sales based jobs, and I'm one of those people who could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves, right? That's like, that's what they say about me, old row, right? And so, but it's got to be something that I really stand behind. It's got to be something that I believe in. And so, when I was younger, I worked at an arts and crafts store. So I would sell people art supplies because obviously I love creating things. And then when I was older, it was custom framing. I worked at an art gallery, and custom framing is pretty expensive, but I could sell anything to anybody. And then as I got older, Kit and I went into business together. I'd never been an entrepreneur before, but the skills came along, and it's really just like a natural, intuitive thing. So combining that with constantly studying what other people are doing and modeling after that, there's just so much to it. There are so many different books to read. There's so many different um, types of copywriting that you can learn. And in the challenge that we do, there's probably about 20 different sales techniques happening within the one challenge. So to break it all down on this podcast would take a long time, but we do teach about this in our programs. But what I can do is kind of break down a very like general overview of how we create that in the challenge, which is it starts with, first of all, knowing what it is that you're offering and being really confident that what you're offering is going to get people results. How do you do that? You offer it at a price that you feel comfortable with and that other people feel comfortable paying long enough to get social proof, to get testimonials. You do that for as long as you need to feel comfortable to slowly raise your prices. We didn't start out with a $8,000 program. We started out with a $1,000 program. And we
Mhm.
said that enough times to get to know that, wow, we're getting people great results. And then slowly it became $2,500. And then slowly it became $5,000, and then six and seven and eight. And then by January, it's going to be 10. And this is over the course of about 3 years. Um, so that's really the biggest thing that you need is a sense of confidence that what you're offering, first of all, is something that you feel very, very passionate about doing. And second of all, it's something that gets people results. And you know what those results are. And you've done it enough times to have proof of those results. From there, there's so much, Serena. I mean, there's ads, there's copywriting, there's writing a script in a way that your story brings people to the same epiphany that you had.
Mhm.
So it's called an epiphany bridge story. So the challenge is basically a week long, and we have 5 master classes in which we tell our stories of being broke and living on a couch to creating $1 million business. And within those stories, people are on the journey with us. And so the epiphanies that we have within the stories of realizing, oh, we need to invest in ourselves. Oh, this coach is going to help us create this business. Boop, 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 boop. You just line them up, and the people who are paying attention, the people who resonate with what you're saying, they will go on that journey with you. And if they are meant to be someone who's going to be working with you, someone who's going to resonate with your message, with your community, with your work, then they will stick with it till the end. The people who think it's a scam, the people who think you're that have judgments against you, they'll just drop off, and you don't
Mhm.
you don't have to worry about them. You just bye.
Yeah.
Okay, it's cool if this doesn't resonate with you. It's okay. Like like for instance, you've done several of our challenges now, right?
I've
Two,
done two of them,
two,
yeah.
two. And you and I have talked about you doing our program a couple times, and there was a lot that did feel like it resonated. And then in the end, you decided to go with Jamie, right? In her program.
I actually have left her program.
Oh, okay. Well,
So,
either way, there was something back then, right, when you initially made that decision
mhm.
that resonated with you more than it would have with our program for whatever reason. And not to say that you won't ever do one of our programs, because who knows? You never know, right? But in those circumstances, it's very interesting, right? Because Jamie and her business is modeled after ours, and her messages are very similar, but there's something about the way she presents herself and the way she tells her stories that resonates with some people and not others. And so knowing that going into sales is the biggest gift that you can give yourself, is just knowing that when every no is a gift.
Mhm.
And you never want to sell somebody something that doesn't fully resonate for both of you,
Mhm.
because you're going to be dragging them through the process, and neither one of you are going to get the outcome that you want.
Yeah, definitely. I even remember you saying that in the program, and it was like this pressure that just released, from the field, because it's so true. You don't want someone to give you your money that doesn't want to give it to you. You
Exactly.
know, yeah, they want to, they need to, or they get to want to give it to you, essentially,
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say. Like,
exactly.
you want people to show up for themselves, for sure.
Yep. And sometimes it's literally just a timing thing too. And like for instance, again, with you and I, like we've connected several times over the last year or maybe 2 years, and maybe there was something just about the timing that wasn't quite right, right?
Mhm.
And for me, I know that like you and I are still going to have a connection whether you choose to do a program with us or not, because you're an amazing person. I love following you and I love seeing your journey.
Mhm.
And to just remember that as a coach, as a consultant, as whatever kind of online entrepreneur thing that you're doing out there that includes clients, if someone does not choose to do your program or become a client of yours at that time, don't think that that means that they're never going to be interested in it again. Maintain relationships with people, because that's really what it's about. Sales is about relationships. And
Mhm.
know that there are so many people who have done, we've done 10 challenges now. There are people who have done every single challenge and never signed up for a program, and that's fine. We love that. We love having people in the community. There are some people who have signed up for the smaller packages several times, and then eventually sign up for the bigger one. And it's because we don't attach ourselves or our worth on whether they sign up for something right now or not.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
say, whatever's right for you is great. And when it is the right time, it's the right time.
Yeah.
And just continue to maintain relationships with them, support them, invite them back to future challenges and however it wants to look. But it's basically just like you're saying, take the pressure off and release any expectations going into
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And know that every no is a gift. Celebrate every no.
Mm-hmm.
Don't like make the no mean that you are bad at sales or that your program is worthless or something like that. It doesn't mean any of those things.
Mm-hmm. Whew, yeah, I feel like I'm in like the Church of Rosie right now on this podcast. I'm like, preach. Why isn't everybody saying this out there? I've literally worked with coaches who have instilled opposite belief systems upon me, like that that a no means that I'm bad at sales. I've literally worked with people that have taught that to me. And
Wow.
that was me coming into the industry naive, not really knowing what's happening. And,
Yeah.
you know, anyway, we're here now. And I'm so thankful for you for just being who you are and sharing your message. And, one thing I really try to do specifically on this podcast is be as authentic and honest as possible. And, I resonated more with one-on-one coaching with you than like the group coaching programs. And for me, it definitely wasn't the right time. And I still feel a draw to work with you guys in the future, and I don't know what that looks like or how it will
Yeah.
manifest itself. So I'm living proof and affirmation of everything that you just said. And I'm also extremely grateful for how you show up and maintain connections, and the community that you built is amazing. I just love knowing that's there. And if I needed to, I could go live in the community program and say whatever the fuck I needed to say. And that feels so good just to have that safe container to be yourself, your real self, whatever that looks like. And so, you know, for those listening who need more community or desire to be seen or resonate with any of this, I definitely recommend that they do your challenge and just see what comes up, because it's pretty awesome. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Um, I don't know if I'll do a challenge again. I'm feeling kind of challenged out, but
Every time. So some people get it's the same lessons, the same scripts and everything. Some people get new experiences each time they do it, so they just keep coming back. Other people are like, okay, I understand these things now. Um, so however that works, it's totally fine. But we're always coming up with new stuff too.
yeah, definitely. Um, It's interesting because I'm seeing a lot more people doing online challenges and virtual events and stuff like that, especially now with COVID.
Yeah.
Um, so I've even thought about it, but I wouldn't know where to begin with that. So for someone who is interested in moving more towards the online world, what advice would you give that person?
Really, the way that Kit and I built our business with a $0 budget was through modeling, observing and modeling, as though we were paying $100,000 to be in school to learn how to do this. Because you can learn. We taught ourselves all of this stuff. Yes, we signed up for a coaching program, but I'm gonna tell you, unfortunately, they did not teach us anything. There was some things going on within that company that we observed, that we said, wow, we're never going to put our clients through that. So we decided to make our own programs way more supportive and actually have real coaching in them. And so in doing that, in learning that, it was a very weird thing. It was like, yes, we put all this money towards coaching, but we ended up teaching ourselves everything.
Mm-hmm.
And how we did that was we modeled. So my advice would be to start a new email address with the name of whatever you want your business to be, even if it's just your name spelled a little differently or with a different title or whatever it is at gmail.com. Just make a new email address and subscribe to all the people who interest you, who are on this in this online entrepreneur world, spiritual people, coaches, yoga teachers, whoever looks like they're doing really successful things, and subscribe to everything that they have. Sign up for all of their free shit and put filters in this email inbox that separate the different newsletters according to the different categories you want to put them in. So if it's like manifestation, have like one folder for everybody who's doing manifestation stuff. If it's like, you know, business for coaches, have one folder that all that stuff goes into, like Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels and like these guys that are super like square but have a lot of really good business knowledge. Tony Robbins, you know, like put them all in one folder, and then put like Manifestation Babe and the Little Volcano and like, you know, all like the magical people, put them in a folder, right? And stop using social media as a consumer and start only using it as a producer.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, look at social media as a way for you to build your following, to build your community, your connection, and obviously within that, that includes developing relationships with other people too. So
For
like,
sure.
don't just post and ghost, but go on, support people
Yeah.
and all that kind of thing, but be very intentional about it. Every time you catch yourself scrolling or just reading other people's stuff and not saying anything, put your freaking phone down, right?
Hmm.
And look at it as a job. This is my
Yeah.
job right now, is to learn from these influencers who are being really successful and see what they're doing in their funnels. What kind of language are they using? How did they get me to give them their email address? Take notes on that, right? Are
Hmm.
they doing a free challenge? Are they doing a paid challenge? Can I find out how much they make every year? What kind of relationship do they have with their spouse? Just literally research the shit out of people. Find the top 3 people that you want to model after and follow them as closely as you can. Do what they do. Take their
Hmm.
advice. If you
Hmm.
want their life, do what they do. If you want to have what they have, you got to do the same thing. So if they're saying invest in a high level coach, you got to do whatever it takes to invest in that high level coach. If they're saying make a vision board, go make a vision board. Like, um, that's my biggest advice. That's what we did. We just modeled after other successful people. And in modeling, you're not copying, right? You are modeling. So you're taking their structure, their format, but you're inputting your own words, your own images, your own personality into everything.
Hmm.
And you're using what works and you're letting go of what doesn't. The challenge is something that we modeled after a successful coach. And it very quickly became our own thing, but the format of the challenge was modeled after someone else, and he modeled it after someone else, and he modeled it after someone else. And that's how it all works. You know, that's how the education system works too.
Hmm.
You know, doctors learn from other doctors who have written books.
Hmm.
But then, you know what I mean? So this is
Hmm.
just how information is exchanged. And so you have to treat building your own business as though you're going to medical school, as though you're like sitting down and studying for a final and you're paying $100,000 to do this. Like, take
Yeah.
it that seriously.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. I know that we have a hard cutoff. I'm wondering if you have time to answer one more question.
Yeah, let me just text my co parents real quick and let them know. It should be fine. All right, cool.
Thank you so much. What motivates you?
Wow, this has been really interesting because you and me are both doing this nearly naked challenge that just kind of like I started it and then it became its own thing. And
Hmm.
I love it. I was just doing it for myself. I was not looking for anybody else to join me. And then all of a sudden, there's like, I don't even know. I don't know how many people are still doing it, Serena, but me and you are still going, right?
Yep, we're doing
I'm
it.
on 50. I feel good. It's a 75-day thing. And I'm choosing to do no sugar, no wheat, no coffee, no alcohol, meditating 30 minutes, exercising 45 minutes, drinking a gallon of water, practicing Italian, practicing Gaelic, reading 20 pages of nonfiction every single day for 75 days. If I miss any one of those things, I have to start all over at day one. If I mess up completely and I fail, I have to send $2,500 to Donald Trump.
Oh my gosh. I didn't know that part of your challenge.
Yeah,
Whoo-hoo.
because I've really been studying what actually motivates me to do the things I say I'm going to do.
Whew.
And COVID has completely thrown me for a loop because I am motivated by other people expecting me to be somewhere. So if I have a membership at a yoga studio, all the teachers know my name and they know which classes I go to, and that's how I stay committed to my exercise routines. With COVID, I got into a complete slump and I was like, okay, how do I take this person who's motivated by other people putting expectations on me? What do I need to do to motivate myself to actually stick to something that's good for me? And so I started researching all of this stuff right before I started the 75-day thing, which is why I took that leap. And I discovered that sending money to Donald Trump is something that really motivates me. Not doing that.
Mhm, mhm.
Because it's something I really strongly believe in not doing. And if I didn't have that financial motivator, I honestly don't know if I would have made it this long. And so I had to put a lot of these things in place. So the Trump thing, the $2,500, I had to pick an amount that actually scared me. Um, I had to, oh, and if I win, I get to take an extra $2,500 bonus from our business, which is great. Gonna get a new tattoo.
Woo!
Haven't done in a really long time. So that is really, so it's like the reward is motivating, the punishment is motivating, and then the public accountability is another element to it. I initially was posting every day, then I was like, I'm just gonna post like once a week or whatever. It was just too much. But even just knowing that you and other people who have jumped on this with me, we're all looking at each other. We're all kind of tracking each other, reading each other's posts, supporting, commenting, and like maybe there's only three of us still doing it. But that to me is really motivating too, just to know that I declared to the public that I'm doing this for 75 days. And I'm
Mhm.
a freaking transformational coach with $1 million business and 100 clients right now. And so they're all looking up to me as someone that should inspire them. That's pressure. And so I created that external accountability for myself through all of those things. And
Mhm.
it's working really well.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the way that I did it, I'll recommend this to all of your listeners, is I read Gretchen Rubin's book. It's called Better Than Before. And she breaks down all of the different things that motivate people, all of the different types of people and how they're motivated. Um, so, for instance, some people think you're only going to be successful in life if you wake up at 5 a.m. every day, which is bullshit.
Mhm.
There are night people and there are morning people. And if you're a night person, you can't expect yourself to be a morning person. You're just going to set yourself up for disappointment and
For
failure.
sure. Yeah.
So it's about really learning what makes you tick and not judging what makes other people tick, and not let other people's judgments come into your life and try to tell you what to do when you know what makes you tick. People will come in and they'll say, "Oh, no, you got to do it this way. This is what's going to motivate you." You just can't listen to that. You got to
Mhm.
really figure it out on your own,
Mhm.
um, and stick to it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I look up to you and I'm inspired by you. And I trust that so many other people listening have received. I know that I personally have received. It brings tears to my eyes. So thank you so much for being here. I adore you so much, Rosie. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Serena. I adore you too. This is really fun.